All right, y'all. So, the book of the Bible that we're going to jump to now, because we finished Revelation, excuse me. We're going to go to Proverbs, y'all. That is what I am being led to do. And we all know Proverbs is the book of wisdom. And if you don't know, well, now you know. So let's get into it. What does Proverbs chapter 1 mean? To fully understand Proverbs, it is important to define four key terms used throughout the book. These words are often used interchangeably in English, but the book of Proverbs, they tend to have individual meanings. The four terms are learning, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Learning, as used in Proverbs, is a simple acquisition of information. This could be defined as short term memory. Anything absorbed for a specific use and then discarded, like a phone number, is a kind of learning. It is needed for a specific purpose, and when that purpose is over, the information is forgotten. Wow. However, if that phone number belonged to a best friend or a spouse and was called on a regular basis, it will move from short term memory to long term memory. This is what Proverbs refers to as knowledge or any information that is retained for later use. Wisdom is the capacity for action produced because of knowledge. Solomon asked for wisdom so that he could govern God's people. God acknowledges that this wisdom is given to Solomon so that he can properly rule God's people. Therefore, as used in the book of Proverbs, wisdom is the ability to make appropriate and compassionate actions based upon knowledge. Note that this is an ability, not a guarantee. Mm. Solomon possesses extraordinary wisdom, but as the book of Ecclesiastes show, he did not always choose to listen to it. The opposite of wisdom is folly or foolishness. Is inappropriate action founded in selfish and sinful desire. It is acting against wisdom rather than according to it. Finally, understanding is the complete knowledge of a subject with a responsibility to pass on that knowledge. Only after someone is learned, retained, and used wisely can it be taught to others. The book of Proverbs, therefore, is the fullness of understanding. Solomon was gifted great wisdom, which he handed down through Proverbs to his sons' sons, and all of the generations. One of the greatest ironies of human experience is that we can gain wisdom, fail to use it, and the pain of that experience can generate a better understanding, which are when, which are then compelled to tell others about. Okay, so now we get into the breakdown of the verse or the chapter. So Proverbs 1 through 7 outlines the four distinct two statements or purpose statements of the book of Proverbs. This section culminates with the identification that the only source of true wisdom, the Lord Himself. The purpose of the book of Proverbs is to recognize wise instruction and apply knowledge wisely. Most importantly, this all begins with a reverent respect, fear of the Lord, and rejection of foolish ways. Proverbs 1 8 through 19 is a warning against foolishness and the allure of sinful behavior. Solomon begins this warning by appealing to his children to honor their parents' teaching. And most parents know it. It's helpful to outline it's helpful to outline negative behavior before stating what happens when one engages on it. Now that's good. Proverbs 1:20 through 33 concludes the first chapter of Proverbs. This passage lists the desired consequences on behaviors defined in the previous section. The section of scripture is famous and important metaphor, the first personification of wisdom as a woman. Throughout Proverbs, Solomon described wisdom as a beautiful woman shouting out for others to hear. The point of this imagery is that wisdom is not hiding, it is out in the open for all to hear, even though it often goes overlooked. Mm. That's good. To understand the book of Proverbs, it is essential to consider the human author Solomon. The first chapter of Second Chronicle records the conversation between God and Solomon. Shortly after Solomon has been named the new king of Israel, Second Chronicles 1 verse 10, Solomon requests for wisdom and knowledge in order to govern God's people, shows his humility before the Lord, and God responds with a promise as well as a blessing. Second Chronicles 1 verses 11 through 12. Thanks to Solomon's humble approach, the Lord blessed him abundantly. He was given not only what he asked for, wisdom and knowledge, but also other blessings he did not mention, riches, possessions, and honor. The true nature of God, none has been as wise as Solomon before or since. 1 Kings 3 and 12. However, even with his wisdom, Solomon turned away from God and followed after worldly pursuits. Oh, come on. 1 King 11 records that Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. I remember reading about that. Throughout his life, he found no earthly pleasure to replace the love of God. In Ecclesiastes 1 and 2, Solomon proclaims vanity of vanities, all is vanity. The book of Proverbs, therefore, is a collection of wise instructions to Solomon's sons based on his knowledge and experience so that they can avoid his foolish mistakes. Oh, that's good. While Solomon had great wisdom and knowledge, he did not always apply his knowledge wisely. Solomon used his power and influence to get what he wanted, even though he knew it was not wise to do so. Therefore, consider the words of Proverbs carefully. They are divinely inspired, penned with the wisest man to ever live, with wisdom given fully by the Lord Himself. Okay. Of the book of wisdom literature, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, and Job, the book of Proverbs is the easiest to understand while providing an incomparable amount of knowledge to the reader. The book of Proverbs also makes a great family devotional book as it has 31 chapters. One chapter can be studied each day throughout the month, and that's what we're doing. Altogether, there are 915 verses in the book of Proverbs. If a chapter a day seems too much to read, studying 2 or 3 verses a day will take about a year. So chapter contents. Proverbs chapter 1 is clearly born out of Solomon's life history. Solomon held himself back from no earthly pleasure. He had everything he could ever desire, and in the end he saw the foolishness of his actions. Chapter 1 is Solomon's reflection on his own life, how he had all the wisdom of God available to him and yet chose to follow after foolish desires. Other chapter details the advice which this experience allows Solomon to give. That's good. Okay, so we're gonna try to get my second breakdown in time. So the Proverbs 1 introduces the core theme of the book, the value of wisdom and its connection to the fear of the Lord, and emphasizes that true wisdom begins with reverence for God and encourages readers to seek understanding and knowledge to navigate life's challenges. The chapter also functions as an introduction to Solomon's teaching, highlighting the importance of instructions, righteousness, justice, and equity. Okay, so the breakdown. The fear of the Lord is the foundation of wisdom. Reverence for God is presented as the starting point for acquiring true knowledge and understanding. Wisdom is practical. The chapter emphasizes the application of wisdom to daily life, including wise dealing, righteousness, justice, and equity. Wisdom is a guide. It is portrayed as a source of guidance, direction, helping individuals make sound decisions and avoid pitfalls. Warning against sin. The chapter includes a warning against the allure of sin and the influence of wicked people. Instruction for all. Proverbs 1 aims to provide wisdom and discretion to both the simple and the youth. 30 seconds. In essence, Proverbs serves as a call to pursue wisdom grounded in the fear of God and apply that wisdom in all aspects of life. The Bible commenters say it set the stage for the rest of the book by outlining its purpose and the central role of wisdom in living a righteous life and a fulfilling life. Boom. That's all I have, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.